Welcome back to the Blue and Red Football Channel. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about today. We've got the Euros. We've got Chelsea doing madness in the transfer window. We've got Liverpool doing no madness in the transfer window. We've got a lot of topics to talk about today. And I say let's just jump right in to the transfer roundup. We'll start off with Chelsea because you
Absolutely.
guys have a lot more to talk about. So talk about your little transfer policies going on right now. You've got some pretty big transfers.
Yeah, it's a busy summer, but I think that was to be anticipated as that has been the tradition with this new ownership regime. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. I'm trying to, without looking at a list, remember everybody we've signed because it already has been a lot. We started off with Estevao, who I'm very excited about. And he is doing a madness in Brazil right now. He looks incredible for being 17 years old. He's like scoring and assisting every week at the moment, and he looks really, really good and really exciting. So right wing is looking bright for the long term. We signed Tosin Darabioyo from Fulham or Darabayo. And he already in the couple different media we've seen of him in like training looks like he's fully stepping up like as a leader in the locker room, like motivating the boys, and so that's good because he obviously has Premier League experience. He's um, I want to say since that first summer where we signed like Kalidou Koulibaly and Raheem Sterling, I want to say he's our oldest signing since that summer, and he's turning 27 this fall, I believe. So like not even that old at all. And for a center back, he's like just about to enter his prime or right entering it now. Um, so I'm really excited about him and just like how he's looked really stepped up as a leader already. Let's see who else we signed Mark Gu from Barcelona for 6 million euros. That is another like super exciting signing for super cheap, like super low risk, super high reward. I'm gonna make sure I don't miss anybody. But Gu looked good when he played for Barca. He didn't play a lot for Barca last season, um, but he scored, I believe, on his first touch for Barca, and just for the senior team, scored on his first touch, or at least like his second touch. First time he got the ball, he scored, and then he scored in the Champions League. He is expected to be in the first team, which is good. I'm excited to see him hopefully contribute in Europe and in cups and hopefully just in the Prem this season. And then we signed Kieran Dewsbury Hall, um, which I really like. It made some Chelsea fans angry because, of course, it was 30 million pounds on a championship player. But he was Enzo Maresca's best player at Leicester, and he had 12 goals and 15 assists last season for Leicester, which is um, very good. And also, we don't have a left-footed midfielder, so a lot of people were wondering what the need was, but he's a much different profile than anybody else we have. And I would say I'm expecting him to start day one, but that's not necessarily a long-term thing. I think Cole Palmer probably would have started where uh, Dewsbury Hall will start in the midfield for Chelsea if we signed Olise, but because we didn't sign Olise, I think Dewsbury Hall will start in the midfield and Cole Palmer will start on the wing. And maybe when Esteval comes in, Cole Palmer will transition to the midfield. But I think um, actually Maresca was the guy who turned Cole Palmer into a winger. So I'm guessing that'll be where he uses them. I'm making sure I'm not missing anybody. I'm pretty sure I've gotten like we have signed quite a few players. So, can you think? So we signed Tosin Estevao. We signed Renato Vega. I was about to get to him. He's left-footed, very versatile. Signed him for 12 million pounds from Basel, and he was actually Calafiori's replacement at Basel, and he ended up playing in the midfield for them. So I'm guessing he'll play inverted left back for us, but he also can play center back. And actually, in his like media introduction, he introduced himself as a center back. So there's a lot of potential there. He looks exciting too for being 21 years old, like super versatile, just a good option, especially because Chilwell has had his injury problem. Raya, so he just obviously came off of an incredible Euros, and I want to give him credit for that. But I think left back and left center back is a good position to strengthen, especially with a player like that, and not like splashing 50 million pounds on Calafi. I didn't even know, but like prior to this season, had a horrendous injury record and had like a major ligament tear when he was an academy player at Roma, and I guess it was supposed to be career ending. So like complete props to him for bouncing back, but Chelsea just can't afford to have injury problems, and if it's even like if he has history, it's just a little concerning. So I really like the Renato Vega transfer. He looks exciting. Sorry, I'm sorting through Omari
We've
Kellyman
got
as
EA.
well.
We've got the Villa
Yeah,
boy. We've had our own discussions about him privately. Me personally,
yeah,
I mean, I feel like I'm not the only one who thinks that and knows that he's not worth 19 million, but obviously with uh financial fair play rules as well, like some people are just helping out
mhm,
others to meet those guidelines and stuff like that. So
yeah. And that deal was done before. Yeah, like him and Matson, those deals were done before the deadline for like last season's profit sustainability window or whatever.
yeah.
So I think Villa paid us probably 7-8 million more than Matson is worth, or that we would have got from Matson for anybody else, and we probably paid 7-8 million more for Amari Kelly than anybody would have paid. So I think that was it. Just looks better on the books when you sell players for more money. It is a lot of money, and so I hope it doesn't add pressure onto him. And I was a little concerned. He played striker for Villa last season when he got in, but he described himself as an attacking. And he is a left-footed player. He can play on the wings. He's versatile. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But if we're spending 20 million pounds on him, I'm guessing he has a future at the club. And so yeah, I don't know a ton about him. Hoping he can do some work in preseason. But if not, if he just goes straight to like U21s or PL2, like he's the most expensive like secondary squad player in the probably in the whole league, I would imagine. I think that's all of our signings so far. I'm sorry, I'm actively looking through everything, but I think that's it. And I went to our Instagram. Probably wasn't like the best place for a roundup on everything, but I'm really excited. There's been a couple different training videos and stuff and pictures released about Enzo Maresca and training so far, and, especially with like the new boys getting mixed in and looking comfortable in the squad. So before we get into preseason stuff and training and everything, let's hear about Liverpool and your guys' transfers or lack thereof, and kind of your thoughts and whatnot. And yeah,
Well, as a Liverpool fan, nothing new. If you've been along for the ride for the last 6 years, this is nothing new. You go through your stages of acceptance, grieving, jealousy, all that stuff. I've been through it all through this summer window. We've been every term you could say in the book for literally nothing, talked to, shortlisted, interested, all that. I've seen it all this summer. I think the only, even our most confirmed transfer with Rio and Gumoha, who we took from you guys, isn't even confirmed yet. Like nothing is
so
the
he could,
confirmed yet. He could
yeah,
simply just decline. It's all just interest. That's our most concrete transfer news of the entire summer.
yeah.
I get Arnie Slot is just coming in. He's got to reevaluate the squad and all that stuff. So like at the end of the day, as much as I would like a new name, I don't blame him for taking this long, but at the same time, it's like we have people coming out saying we're going to be opportunistic in the market, and then like every opportunity is just going like that. So I don't know what's happening, but I do like the fact that he's looking at youth players and stuff like that. I do believe that there are some positions that we could definitely um, bulk up on with, especially like we've had this conversation off camera before. I feel like a position that we need to focus right now on is a left-sided center back because Van Dijk is getting up there in age. Still one of the greatest in the
Mhm.
Prem right now, but he's getting up there in age. We can't ignore it. And the same with Salah, one of the greatest right wingers in the game right now in the Premier League. But as of now, Liverpool has plenty of cover at striker. We have plenty of cover at left wing, but we have no cover at right wing. It kind of just goes from Salah to Ben Doak. I think I've said this in previous videos. Um, but that works to the advantage of Arne Slot because we've seen how he likes to develop youngsters. He loves to work with youngsters. Even in preseason, he's been uh, he's been working with Sepp Van Den Berg, who kind of just never got a chance at Liverpool. Now he's giving him a chance after uh, a lot of good loans. He had a great loan at Preston. He had a great loan at Schalke. Even though he showed his promise. He only played like 2 games because then he sustained a season-ending injury. Then he played at Mainz and he was a regular starter. Then a three-back, and he played across that entire back line. He played left center back, and right center back, and he was one of the outs more like the outperformers in the Bundesliga. So I'm not too mad at that. It's almost like a new signing. Even though I don't like saying that, it's almost like a new signing because we haven't seen what he has to offer at the professional level in like the Prem. So I'm excited to see that. We have Tyler Morton, who just had a good season with Hull City, as well as Fabio Carvalho. They're coming back, players who are used to the first team at Liverpool. So it'd be nice to see how Arne Slot, whether he wants to keep them, cash in on them now. There are some rumors that Morton could be leaving, going to Leipzig, which honestly I would be okay with cashing in on him now after a good season like that. I would like to keep him, but at the same time, it's like we need to cash in on certain players when the time comes. I'll never forget we should have cashed in on Nat Phillips when he had was a starter for us. We were demanding 20 million and we were being too stingy. People were offering 17, 16, 19 million for Nat Phillips. Now we're at a time where we're like trying to offload him for 5 million and he hasn't played since. So I feel like if we are to do that with Tyler Morton, we take our chance with that. Um, we are Arnie Slot is rumored to like a lot of our youngsters right now. A name that is coming up right now that he's looking at heavily is Harvey Blair. Um, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. He's a really talented winger, except he sustains a lot of injuries, but he's very direct, very crafty, clinical finisher, capable of playing striker. He kind of reminds me of Jota in a sense, in the way that he's able to he has the directness of Luis Diaz, but the finishing and the clinical finishing of Jota, and he's 2-footed. He's an incredible player, and he just seems like such a slot player. I can't. We had a preseason game today. We lost to Preston North End. I'm not really worried about it, but I can't wait to when we start seeing it. Like it was behind closed doors, but for those who don't know, but when we start seeing more preseason games where it's more uh, broadcasted and all that stuff. That's one player that I can't wait to see because that's one player who's been impressing him. Sepp Vandenberg as well, as I mentioned, is another player who's a standout performer right now in Arne Slot's eyes, and a lot of people are scared that maybe just they could be of the Dutch link because they did know each other previously. But whether it is or not, I like to hear that we have someone coming up through the ranks at center back, especially like when we see players like Jarell Quansah. He just had a brilliant season. And not to throw shade to Manchester United, who just captured Lenny Euro. Great center back, but I believe Quansah's better. A little bit of bitterness from my side because we were linked with him. We've been linked with crazy players all over. We've been linked with Samakan. We've been linked with Euro. We've been linked with Calafiori, who looks like he's on his way to Arsenal. Um, we've been linked with Anthony Gordon. That was like our most, apart from Rio, that was our most concrete transfer news. But due to PSR rules, I believe they wanted to have a bit of cash and Jarell Quansah in their deal for Anthony Gordon, and that's not something Liverpool wanted to do, so they turned that down, and I don't mind that. Jarell Quansah, just like I said, had a brilliant season. Stats are up there with the best of them, and that's not a player that I'd be willing to give up someone as talented as Quansah for. But Anthony Gordon is a good player. I feel like he would help us at that wing department for sure. But all in all, not too much transfer news to talk about for Liverpool. A lot of just speculation here and there, of course. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do use a lot of in-house talent. And I wouldn't be too mad at it, apart from the fact that I just feel like Liverpool desperately need to address the Oh, I mean, there is one thing that I would say should be addressed more than anything. It's the fact that Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold are all on their last year on their contract, and we have seen rumors with Trent going on a free to Real Madrid, looking more increasingly. Me personally, I don't think he would because he bleeds Liverpool through and through, especially after losing to Real Madrid in the final twice. I couldn't see him doing that. It's more like it's on a personal level for him. However, we do need to address that because by now I thought that that stuff would have been tied and done and dusted already. I thought that would have been like first things first before going into preseason. Van Dijk, we've had this conversation off camera as well. Van Dijk has already come out and said a few things that he's considering his future, and I don't know about the rest of the world, but me, when I hear a player who's at a club when he says I'm considering my future and not just I'm gonna stay or like, oh, I'm planning on staying, it kind of just shows you where their head is at. Um, But I can't blame Van Dijk. He's been a loyal servant to the club. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He's probably thinking about his family as well and all that, like things that he needs to take into account. So all the more reason why I feel like we need to really address the center back and the right wing positions and see. I don't know, but I have full trust in Arne Slot. I have full trust in Richard Hughes. I trust them completely. They're not pro or they're not pros. They're not new to this. I trust even Michael Edwards, same guy. I mean, he's not new to this. How many times have I bashed Michael Edwards for taking too long in the transfer window, and then he surprises me with a crazy transfer, and it ends up being miraculous, and I'm like, okay, fair play. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, but that's the wrap up for Liverpool pretty much. Nothing too crazy, a lot of speculation here and there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we use a lot of in-house talent, which me personally, I love the development of youngsters, so I'm all for it.
Yep. And yeah, like you said, that's just how Michael, like, he generally moves late, and I also like giving there before seeing like if there's needs to fill, because Chelsea just went ahead and just bought players for positions instead of, because like if we were looking for a left back who's also left-sided like left-sided center back, play left back, and he can play like that tucking center back role, we have like Samuel Smith from our academy who we bought from Everton, £10 million or something like that last season. um like he's a guy we could have looked at over spending money on Vega, which like I'm not gonna complain about, good, but like we're looking at wingers when we have Tyreek George, who's coming up in our academy right now, and I think he just scored in like a private in-house friendly, and he's been in training a lot, and so I kind of wish Chelsea would give priority to youngsters like that as well. There definitely were positions that filled, and also it's different for us when we're in sixth place and trying to get into the European spots, the Champions League spots, and you guys were third, and you guys are a Champions League team, and you guys already have a Champions League level squad, and so there aren't necessarily like a ton of upgrades that you need to make. Um, so yeah, it just doesn't surprise me that Edwards is kind of moving like this. I'm sure you guys probably in August will start to heat up a little bit and make at least a couple signings and strengthen some areas. But we talked about players coming in. Maybe do you have any outgoings that you are expecting still like this window? Like you mentioned Van Dyke, and I agree. I think Van Dyke. I wouldn't be surprised if Van Dyke and Salah both leave next summer, both on free transfers, just because that would be kind of like a respect and end their time. Kind of like Conte left Chelsea this past season on a free. And I think Salah will probably go to Saudi Arabia, because why would Saudi Arabia want like the biggest, most popular Muslim footballer in the world? And they've been trying already. Um, so, yeah. What do you expect any outcomings for Liverpool at this summer still,
But
other than like the Nat Phillips guys like that? Are there big ones, or I guess you can even mention some of those guys like that
I
you
mean,
expect to go?
well, yeah, I mean the club comes out every now and then. I mean, like you can even see like even with the preseason squad now that we're in preseason, when you see certain players who are being left out, it kind of just shows you. I mean, they're not big names by any means, but like Billy Cometio and Reese Williams have been left out of the preseason squad. And for somebody like Arne Slot, who gives youngsters a lot of chances, that speaks volumes. They've already told both of them that they have no future at the club and they got to find something permanent. Um, so I mean, we'll just get those ones out the way. I mean, they were both very highly rated coming up. Reese Williams came in during that one the season where Nat Phillips he started back there with him, and he looked like he was gonna have a nice future. Then he just never got his loan spells right. It just never kind of grew. Kind of just stayed stagnant. And Billy Cometio also was rated highly, 6'5". Uh, just never really hit it off at his loans. He went on three different senior loans and played like a total of like 16, 15 games across all three, which is not good when you really look at it. So we're probably going to cash in on those two. In terms of like senior players, like Nat Phillips has been thrown in there. I mentioned Tyler Morton because RB Leipzig is sniffing around there. Karim Kelleher is another name that's been circling around. Obviously, even though he only played 10 games, 10 Premier League games, he still proved that he needs to be a number one. Like he cannot be a number two. Like he was extremely important for us this season when Allison went down with an injury. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool tried to cash in on that, especially if Allison, we expect Allison to have a healthy season. El Keller is probably not going to get the chances to be worth 20 million again. He's probably going to go back to like a normal like 10 million. Kostas Tsimikas is a name that I wouldn't be surprised if he left. I couldn't see him leaving due to the fact that he signed a contract extension last season. But I could see like if a good offer comes in, I could see us cashing in on Kostas Tsimikas for sure. Fabio Carvalho is another one. I know it's a new system, it's a new coach, it's a new not a new team, but a new staff team. So maybe he'll want to try that out. Maybe Liverpool will want to cash in on him. Uh, I know that there, in terms of big names, I don't really see us cashing in on a big name as of now. Uh, None of our starting 11, I couldn't see them being cashed in. I know Darwin Nunez, Arne Slot really likes him. Luis Diaz, or Arne Slot really likes him. Cody Gakpo, Arne Slot really likes him. He's had multiple private conversations with the lads, and he's told them that for the majority, he's planning on keeping a lot of the players. So I don't really see any big names leaving. Like I don't think we're gonna see anything like McAllister or Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Luis Diaz leaving. Luis Diaz has been rumored to leave to go to Barca, but even then, I can't see it really happening. But in terms of outgoings, I think that's as big as it goes
Hmm.
at Liverpool. At the Merseyside, nothing too crazy. I think we're just gonna make a little small transfers here and there just to fund for maybe one or two transfers. That's the other thing. Even with the incomings, I don't see us really getting like a large like we're not gonna go for anything crazy. I'm not gonna go for like an Ozyman or Kvaratskhelia. Like I don't see us going in for any big names like that. I think we're just gonna go in for more like depth players, which is exactly what we need. Like we have, like you said, like in terms of Champions League now that we're back in the Champions League, our first team is qualified. We're challenging. It's more of our depth that's where like when we look at teams like City, that's where you tend to lose out on them too. They have extreme deep depth.
Crazy depth.
They have
Yeah.
yeah. But at Liverpool, one person falls. You fall like I had this conversation with you off camera as well. Like we fall, we get one person who falls in the left wing position. I'm like, okay, we got Gakpo. Okay, we have Jota. We have someone who falls down in the right wing position, aka Salah. We're like, all right, now we
Hmm.
got to put someone out of position and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We have Trent fall. Luckily now we have Connor Bradley. By that time, I was like, all right, we got to play out of position Joe Gomez. And now we got to tweak the whole system around. We can't have an attacking
Hmm.
fullback. We got to have him as a defensive. Um, Van Dyke goes down. We saw this a few seasons ago. Van Dyke goes down. We plummet to Nat Phillips, or we got to put Henderson back there. Like even with our sixes, like I said, even McAllister falls down. We have Endo now, but there was a period where both of them had fallen. We're like, what are we gonna do? So I feel like depth at this point, like first team quality, is not something that should be of the essence to Liverpool. It should be more just squad depth. And I feel like we're gonna
Hmm.
sell some of our depth to improve, or in the sense, yeah, sell some of our depth, aka like our younger players, our younger guys, are more of our surplus to requirements players to get that stronger depth to challenge City. I feel like that's what Liverpool need. I feel like that's what a lot of clubs across the Premier League need, but Liverpool mainly. We've lost out on a lot of premierships, Premier Leagues due to not having the squad depth that we, in my
Hmm.
opinion, feel like we should have.
Yep. Yeah. I think for Chelsea outgoings, and there's players that like will leave on loan. Like it looks like Leslie Ugachukwu will leave on loan, and I would love Everton were linked with a loan, and obviously Amadou Onana is going to Villa for £50 million, so they need to replace him. And obviously, I don't know if they're super like similar profiles, but he is like a big defensive midfielder who would probably complement the group they have well. So I would love that for him, even if there was like a buy option included for more than we got him for, because I think we got him for about £20 million. So even just for experience for him, that would be a great loan for him. Uh, Today, it was reported by Matt Law, who's a very reputable Chelsea reporter for the Telegraph, I believe, which is a really good news source generally. Um, I believe for the Telegraph, but Matt Law reported that Chelsea are still in the market for a goalkeeper, and Robert Sanchez is in line to be our number one next season, which is very interesting. And Georgi Petrovic could be on his way out, which is super interesting considering Georgi Petrovic looked pretty solid when he stepped in for Mark Sanchez, because he initially stepped in for an injured Mark, or have I been saying Mark Sanchez,
Yeah.
the New York Jets quarterback, Robert Sanchez. Sorry, Robert Sanchez. Um, I was sorry. Now I'm trying to. He stepped in when Robert Sanchez was injured, and then taking that spot for his own. Um, so yeah, when you look like at their stats side by side, especially on like FBref and stuff, Sanchez looks like a better goalkeeper. Like he has better statistics, has better percentages, but it just there was a confidence thing. Like it just felt like Chelsea were more solid. Georgi Petrovic was in goal, and Georgi Petrovic started super well, but I would say as the season went on, he kind of just looked okay, and he did his job, but he didn't make like outstanding saves. He just was solid in the back of net, and sometimes that's all you need. But if that was the case, and like he was just a solid like average goalkeeper, but he had like elite distribution, then I'm sure there wouldn't be an issue. But we know that Enzo Maresca prefers a goalkeeper who is really elite with short distribution, long distribution, comfortable with the ball at his feet, and so it looks like he's trusting Sanchez for that, which is interesting because Robert Sanchez was dropped at Brighton for Jason Steele, for Jason Steele's ability to distribute, and he seemed a little more comfortable with the ball at his feet. But maybe that's just Enzo Maresca wanting to get one up on his old pal Roberto De Zerbi and use the goalkeeper that he benched to be our starter and hopefully be getting distribution. But like if I was to choose, Georgi Petrovic feels like a backup goalkeeper despite playing really well. Um, I would probably prefer if Robert Sanchez were to leave, but also seeing Maresca's confidence in him maybe gives me a renewed sense of confidence as well. Um, but I wouldn't mind a new goalkeeper coming in. It just would be sad if it was at the expense of Petrovic, who I really came to like last season. I think there's still rumors over Chilwell, which Chilwell is just such a great guy, and he loves Chelsea. Um, like he calls us Chelsea and everything, and like he's in all of our media. So it'd break my heart to see him go, but I just don't really know where he fits in an Enzo Maresca system. I don't really think like tucking into midfield type of fullback, but maybe he can be developed into that. Um, but like, and I don't think Cucurella will leave, especially after how good it was at the Euros. Midfielders, Gallagher to Atletico Madrid is a pretty like that rumor's kind of circling around right now, and he would be the perfect Atletico player. And Saul just went to he just went to Sevilla, and Koke is getting older, so there is a need there. And like just thinking about it, as long as Simeone, like a midfield three of Barrios, Vermeeren, and Gallagher for the future is actually like pretty insane, and like that could develop into like an elite midfield down the line. So that's exciting for him, and I love. He just bleeds blue. I'm pretty sure if he were to get a major injury pitch, he would have blue blood coming out. Um, I think my AirPods just disconnected. I really hope not. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Good?
Yep.
Okay, I can hear you too. That was really strange. Anyways, Gallagher loves Chelsea. I'd be heartbroken to see him go, but I also understand that he's necessarily a Maresca player. He's not like he deserves a lot more credit than he gets for his like ability on the ball. And he just had like an incredible season last season too, and he was captain for a lot of games. So, but I know he probably won't start for Maresca. So if he would rather go somewhere where he knows he's good, maybe he would start there consistently, um, or at least somewhere like that. Hopefully outside of the Premier League. Um, if he would prefer to do that over maybe be like a closer for Chelsea, like he has been in the past, and how he was for England, like an energy guy eventually at the game to kind of chase balls and just apply pressure. And um, if he'd be okay with stepping into that role, but also I know like his contract situation is also difficult because he only has a year left. So, and then there's Trev as well, which I could maybe see Trev staying. I think Renato Vega will be our only defensive signing, and Vega, I see him more as a left back, playing at left back, but he can also play center back. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if Trev stays. And Trev's just another guy. See, I don't think he has any desire to leave. Turned down multiple opportunities to leave in the past. One to Nottingham Forest and one to Bayern Munich on loan. So I don't think he has any desire to leave, even if he did have a reduced role. And honestly, I think Trev might be our best center back we have outside of Wes is coming back from injury, and we'll need what that's like there. And Levi Cole also had a lot of problems, but like Trev, when he came into the team last, incredible, and especially when he was playing like right back, he looked really good. And obviously, he would play a lot of right back as long as Reece James and Gusto are healthy. But yeah, I don't want Trev to go. Romelu Lukaku looks like he'll probably go to Napoli because Osimhen to PSG is heating up, and um, Lukaku will want to be reunited with his daddy, Antonio Conte, as Thomas Tuchel put it very lovingly. And that's, did you know that?
I
Like
did
one of the
not.
reasons that Lukaku was so mad, reportedly, one of the reasons Lukaku was so mad at Chelsea and like why he had the need to like do the whole interview stuff. Thomas Tuchel, when they were watching Spurs like tape before they played Spurs, was like, "Look, it's your daddy" to Lukaku, because
That's
that's
crazy.
when Conte was their coach, and so it's pretty crazy.
I respect that from Tuchel. I'm not even gonna
But
lie. There's
I
massive
know, and
respect
I
from
love
him there.
Thomas Tuchel. Yeah, um, I could talk like this whole podcast about Thomas Tuchel and how much I love him and miss him at Chelsea. But let's see, what other outgoings? I'm trying to think in attack. I don't see any way Raheem Sterling, despite him frustrating and everything. I just think the wages are too high, and I think he decline like a Saudi move unless a top club came in for him, like I don't know, PSG or like Arsenal wanted squad depth. Like I don't see him going anywhere. Um,
Imagine he
and
goes
I'm
to
fine with that,
Arsenal.
honestly. I
Chelsea,
know.
City, Arsenal, Liverpool. Goodness
Liverpool,
me.
yeah. Only two more teams, and he's done it.
He's
A full Big Six in a career. Um, but I don't really want to see Raheem Sterling go, and I think we could kind of see, hopefully, because of the wages and everything, like a Raheem Sterling remontada under Maresca because it's a similar system to Pep, and I think he could do really well on the left and the right, depending on situation. But also, like I want those minutes to go to Mudryk. I want those minutes to go to Tyler George if he stays. I want him to have some good playing time. So I don't really want us to sign a winger, which I mentioned and we're linked with. And then, um, yeah, I think those are the main like rumored outgoing. And then there's still some transfer rumors that Chelsea are interested in, like a new goalkeeper, obviously, if Petrovic leaves. And I would imagine that would be somebody with their feet. And I wouldn't be surprised if actually Chelsea went in for another Leicester player and we went Mads Herman, his goalkeeper at Leicester, who's really comfortable with Maresca, and we have been linked with him. But whether Leicester would want to sell to us again would be another story. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go in for a goalkeeper if Petrovic leaves. One more attacker, 1 to 2 more attackers is what Ornstein is reporting, and then Fabrizio is reporting 2 more attackers, a striker and a right foot. But Ornstein says that it could be 1 to 2 more, depending on like preseason and how that goes and what we needs. And I think we could do with one more attack, maybe a striker, and I think somebody. We're still linked with Semu Amor. I think our Duran interest has cooled, or Omarodian. Sorry, I think our Duran interest has cooled, and Jonathan David. Those links happened and then like kind of disappeared. So I'd be fine with Omarodian because I think he's a different player to Jackson, and he could provide like a interesting contrast. Um, but it'd be a lot of money to spend on a guy who scored 9 goals for Alaves last season. But also, Alaves scored 36 goals in the league last season, so he scored a fourth of their goals in the league. So obviously, it's not a side that creates a lot of chances. So 9 goals actually might represent pretty good value. And so I'm probably more on board with that than a lot of Chelsea. Uh, it represents a kind of big transfer because buying him from Atletico Madrid and it'd be big money. Um, but yeah, I still expect us to be fairly big with outgoings players through the door, but it seems like we just wanted to get our business done early to give Maresca the guys so they can get adapted to his style of play, and we can go on a preseason with basically our squad for next season. So, um, but speaking of preseason and everything, I think we can transition into like preseason so far, our expectations for it,
I was
kind of
just
what
about
we've
to do
seen
the
so
same
far in
thing.
training and stuff. Yeah.
Because I
I,
literally just went to look at the, because like I said, today we played Preston, but it was not, what you call it, it wasn't open to the public. I went to Twitter to see that
Mhm.
if anybody had posted anything private, and I was watching a few clips from it, and overreactionary was the correct response. I watched. Obviously, this is an exciting time for both of us as fans because you're gonna have a new philosophy of football coming your way as well in Enzo, and I have a new philosophy of football coming my way in Arnie. And I studied him prior. You've also studied him prior because you wanted him as a manager. Uh, I just wanted to see how it came up with the Liverpool team, and overreactionary. We did lose 1-0, but something that should be noted is, for starters, it was a goal from 50 yards out. Secondly, our goalie was way off his line. And
Okay. Who was in
third,
goal? Was it
uh,
Pitaluga
it
or
was Jaros, I think.
okay? Oh,
And
okay.
lastly, it was Preston's only shot.
Okay.
Some things to take
Interesting.
away that I've noted here
Wasn't
is
Jaros like? Wouldn't Jaros be the second keeper if Kelleher leaves? So
he
that's a
would.
good sign from him already.
Yeah,
Nice to
it's
see him doing good.
pretty scary. but But some things that I took away from it is I saw Chimis inverting to left from left back into left center back and into
Really?
yeah, so that was interesting.
Hmm.
Sepp, as I expected, played left center back, and I'm pretty happy
Yep.
with that. Like I said, he played left center back, and right center back at Mainz, so that was pretty good to see. It looks like Doak is favored over Gordon and Kumas, which is expected because out of all three of them, I say the most direct winger of them all would be Ben Doak. He is he's Scottish, but I swear that guy is from somewhere. He is techie. He's the most techie Scottish I've seen in a while. Something that I have wanted to do personally on my own. Curtis Jones played the six today, which was
Hmm.
pretty interesting. It looks like Slot might try him out there. Elliott and Zoboslai stayed and remained as not wingers, as midfielders, which I kind of expected. I told you kind of that off camera. I said it would be nice to kind of see whether if Zoboslai went to the wing and all that. But honestly, I could see them staying more in midfield. And then lastly, Carvalho was he played wing, but actually came in as a false nine. So that was pretty interesting to see. We had a very dominant based possession style of play. We had a lot of chances, but just couldn't finish. And so it looks like that's just the story of the like. That's
Hey,
nothing we're new to.
winning your first behind closed doors friendly against a championship team isn't for everybody.
Yeah,
So
that is
1-0
true.
loss, 5-1 win to Leeds. So it's not for everyone.
That is true. But however, I'm just like seeing that and seeing how like fans overreacted because all they saw was the 1-0. Now that I'm seeing that like, oh, their one shot was literally the fact that it was our goalkeeper being off his line and a well perfectly struck ball. I'm like, okay, fair play. And just watching them play, it like the style of play, seeing the possession, seeing the chances that we created, it's good. It's good. I'm seeing great signs from the squad. Um, Especially from the younger side. The performance is very encouraging. I know the scoreline doesn't really say that, but I'm one person who doesn't like to just like at the look at the scoreline. I like to look at the facts. I like to see with my own eyes, because the scoreline won't really tell you everything. But yeah, in terms of that, seeing off that, what I'm expecting from the preseason, I did expect Klopp or not Klopp. I did expect Arne Slot to like Chimikas. I'll be real, because Chimikas is a fighter. Like Chimikas in a way
Mhm.
kind of reminds me of Hartman. Like Hartman for Feyenoord was a fighter. Um, the same with Robertson though. Like both our left backs are really just fighters, really. Um, I expected Sepp Vandenberg. I mean, I say all this because most of these things that happened were my expectations, so it was great. I expected Sepp Vandenberg to be used as a left center back. He was used as a left center back, so I don't really need to go into that. I expected Ben Doak to be used more as that direct winger. It looks like Arne Slot is using that, so perfect. I expected Curtis Jones to kind of play, the way we see Slot uses six. It's not the way that you use your traditional six. It's more of like a all-around six, a six who can do it all. We saw that with Weaver. Weaver was the six over at Feyenoord, but he was very involved within the offense. He was sometimes even in the box. He had quite a few finishes, quite a few assists. And every time I think about that, I'm like, okay. I think of Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones' defensive game is something that's slept on. It's not anything that's like endo or clap, but it's enough to get that six job done. And the way that he likes to get into that opposition box and kind of finish off counters, and he's got a long shot on him. I was like, yeah, it kind of matches the way that Slot likes to play. I could also see Trent playing that role a little bit, but as of now, the lads that were at Euros are getting a bit of rest. So seeing Curtis Jones perform there is really nice to see. Um, in terms of when we get the first full team back, honestly, I don't see much changing apart from Cody Gakpo will not be playing striker. I can't wait for that. I mean, we did see him play a few times at left wing. Everyone is saying that like Klopp never used him as left wing. We did, but it was most of the time at center forward. Not that he's bad at center forward, but like you look at him at Euros and you see him play left wing, and my God, is he a different player? He is the truth. It's like um, it's we see PSV Gakpo honestly. PSV Gakpo love to cut in on his right foot, whip in crosses, or cut in on his right foot, finesse. He's got quite the shot on him. His placement is crazy. I can see why Klopp wanted to use him as like just a center forward. Um, but he just seems to be at the right places at the right time. But yeah, I can't wait to see him play as a left winger. Um, but yeah, I mean, in terms of expectations, that's pretty much most of them. I expect
Mhm.
pretty much nothing crazy or nothing different, to be honest. Just those things. Um, Trent. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about Trent, did I? Trent is a big mystery because now that I'm seeing Chimikas invert, it's making me wonder. I'm like, okay, I know it's not inverting the way that like Trent used to invert. It's more like how like your trader inverted. Um,
Mhm.
more like though he inverted, but it was more focused on the defense. But he was capable of spraying the passes and all that stuff, just not to Trent's level. I feel like Trent is gonna be allowed to have his own revolutionized role. I could see Arne Slot testing him in the midfield. England tried it and it didn't really work, but that's its own thing because that's trying him in England system at center mid or CDM is a bit iffy. Whereas at Liverpool, you are that main person that we're probably going to play through in terms of that long ball and all that stuff. Um, I could also see him playing right back, staying at right back. Honestly, me personally, where I'd put him right now, I'd probably just leave him at right back as it is. Um, but yeah, I could see him experimenting with that. But in terms of expectations, that's just it's exciting. It's really exciting times. I mean, I know it would be nice to have a big name transfer to come along with it. Just saying, but like seeing this kind of stuff, seeing the kind of football we're playing, seeing this new regime of Arne Slot football is really nice to see. I'm not gonna be one of these pessimistic fans who just see a 1-0 loss to Preston and they're like, "Oh, we're finished." More like,
Yeah,
but
that's football.
that is football.
But yeah, yeah. I there's a lot of mysteries. Like the training videos and stuff haven't revealed like anything because obviously the way Maresca played at Leicester was inverted fullback, one fullback tucks in, like a 3-2-5 formation, 3-2-4-1, with sometimes the goalkeeper stepping up like to create an extra man, extra passing offense in the defense, and so it's just like a complete mystery right now as to what he's planning. Obviously, Cucurella excelled as an inverted left back
Oh yeah.
um, for Chelsea, but then also he excelled just as kind of a little back who allowed Nico Williams to do what he wanted to without really needing to worry about what was going on behind him. For Spain, he just played as kind of more traditional defensive left back, so he can do well, exceptionally well, and I think Cucurella has the potential to be like a huge player. Like he has the technical abilities. We've seen that obviously coming from La Masia, like being a former Barca guy. We know he has the technical stuff like in his veins, but also like so much aggression. Like his tackles and interception numbers for a left back incredible. Like he just puts so much effort, so much energy. I expect him to be a big player for Mexico, and it's just like obviously congratulations to him for winning, but it's just a bummer that he's not joining the squad until a little later. Because I expect him to be a player, and whether that will be inverting into the field or whether that will be kind of staying back a little bit, kind of tucking into like a back three, I think he'd do well with either. And because obviously he's not like the best at crossing. Obviously, he had the assist, the match winning assist in the final. Um, which shows his potential going forward and maybe even playing as a midfielder, being able to play those kind of slid through balls and stuff like that. So that's an interesting option at left back. I still have no idea what's going to happen with Chilwell, how his plan. But then also like Reece James can invert, and we know that he played midfield for when he was on loan at Wigan, and he was their player of the season when he played in the midfield for them. And so or maybe we don't even invert a fullback at all. Maybe we get that. Maybe if that's the shape he desires to get that, maybe like a winger tucks into the midfield. We have a double pivot. So it's really interesting. But I'm really excited, and I haven't seen anything about the behind closed doors friendly. But winning 5-1 is encouraging after literally only training a week. Like the fact that they're able to do that against a pretty like Leeds is a good team. Struggled against them a little bit in the FA Cup last season. So like that's just encouraging that players are adapting to it, and there are some reports as well that Chelsea players prefer this Maresca style system as to Pochettino, who obviously his football is a little bit more chaotic, and Maresca prefers structure and positional play, which I think will suit this group well, and I think they need that. And I really believe that Maresca is a top coach, and this is his opportunity to prove that and to show to everybody that he has what it takes at the top level. And it was really interesting too in a press conference. Like the question was asked. Obviously, you've worked with some great coaches in the past. Like I think it was like who have been your biggest influences, whatever. And he didn't even mention Pep in that list. Like he mentioned Ancelotti, he mentioned Pellegrini, but he didn't mention Pep. So I think he's trying to like break the Pep light stuff. like he's trying to make himself like his own name for himself in the game, and he has had incredible influence. Like he worked with Pep at City. He was Pep's number 2 at City. He worked with Pellegrini, and Pellegrini like gave glowing words. I think actually Pellegrini was who told him he should become a coach. And I don't know where he was with Ancelotti. Yeah, but he said that in his interview. I'm sorry, I can't think of that. But so he's had great influences. He did very well at Leicester, but obviously it's not like that was a difficult job. Like you'd expect Leicester to get back in the Premier League at first attempt, but he did it very convincingly, and he got over 100 points in the championship and did really well despite kind of a drop halfway through the season, 3/4 of the way through the season. But yeah, his style of play I think will really suit the players we have. I'm really excited for days now against Wrexham, which ended very well last. Played them. So just hoping that Reece James can stay healthy. Obviously, he'll be a massive player for us. Hoping that Nkunku will stay healthy because he'll feel like a new signing. And I also have no idea where he's going to play. And my personal opinion is whoever we sign in the attack will be dependent on where Nkunku ends up. So whether Maresca prefers him at left wing or Maresca prefers him at striker, we'll sign either one of them. So, yeah, just like you, very excited. I think it's exciting times for Chelsea. I really believe in Maresca and his system and his philosophy and just his coaching style that we've seen so far in the clips and everything in the training videos. Seems very hands-on. He's getting in the training. It's nice to have a younger coach. Like he's only 44. He only retired 7 years ago. Like so he's actively involved in the training and stuff and like kicking about with the boys and everything. So I'd like to see that because Frank Lampard did that a little coach because he was still young enough and still like fresh enough out of the game that he could still keep up a little bit with the guys. So, um, yeah, it just gives a good perspective. I think being younger, being more connected with the game now as it's progressing, and um, just yeah, excited. I think it's super bright times. I don't have like incredible expectations because there will be an adjustment period for sure. Because the way he plays, despite like we obviously last season transitioned to a similar system, but not quite the same. Um, I think there will be a transition period to get used to his style of football because obviously he likes to dominate possession and he likes to um, not give up chances, not give up easy opportunities, and so um, and also just figuring out like a starting works for him and works within his system. There will be that adjustment period as well. Um, I think for preseason, I would expect us to win. Obviously, beat Wrexham. That's a given. We play Celtic. I expect us to beat Celtic. But Celtic are a good team. But then we play Real Madrid, Manchester City, and I just want to see us in those games and just go after them. And if we could win one or both of them, that would be incredible. I was really hoping because obviously we live in. I was really hoping to go to the Real Madrid game, but it didn't work out because that would have been incredible. Because I've never seen Chelsea play in person. I had tickets to go watch them play in Chicago against Dortmund, which would have been a dream, but it did not end up happening because I lived about 3 hours away and the rain was horrendous. So I did not want to drive through Chicago in heavy rain. And we were going to try and go to that game against Real Madrid. It hasn't worked out. So one day I will see my beloved Chelsea play, but for now I will support from a distance and just hope that this preseason goes well. But luckily, as long as we're owned by American owners, preseason probably be in America for the foreseeable future. So
I
hopefully
would
one of
hope
these
so.
days it'll happen. Yeah. But you guys are in America this summer,
Once,
aren't you?
damn, we always go to
Yeah.
Malaysia or Singapore. Not that I have a problem with that. I'm just
Mm.
saying. Well, I mean, no, I do have a problem with that. Not because of the country or anything. My only thing is just the time zones. I was sick and tired of waking up at 4, 3, 5 in the morning to watch them play.
Yep.
I mean, they made it worth it, but still, it was. Ooh. So now it's gonna be more. It's gonna be nicer. So I don't mind. I don't mind.
Hmm.
I don't mind it. I'm excited. I can't stop watching these clips, man. I really can't. It's just so exciting. The new age. But
Yep.
it's like the more I just start to notice more little subtle things. Chimikas inverting in is playing well. Ben Doak has actually been shifted to left wing, which
Hmm.
it's not bad. Harvey Elliott from right center mid to left center mid. Eesh, there's so much going on where I'm just like, it looks so nice. It looks so nice. It
Hmm.
looks it looks incredible. I just
So,
even Sep
what's
Sep
your
looks solid.
ex- expected starting 11 this
Ooh,
season? And then like who are you expecting as like useful depth players? So, maybe like a starting 11 plus like three or four useful players that you think will play a lot and rotate in a lot.
starting 11.
And
See,
formation. What do you think Slot's going to play?
see, the thing is, Slot likes to be mysterious. He doesn't know, cause like it'll say 4-3-3, but he'll play a 4-4-1, or he'll play a 4-2-3-1, or a 4-4-2, and all this stuff. So for the sake of this, I'll say 4-3-3 with an attacking mid. I'll say Allison obviously in goal, Van Dyke, and hmm, trying to debate between Kwanzaa and Konate because when healthy, like Van Dyke is already a ball playing. Well, a lot of people might disagree with me on this, but honestly, I think our best ball playing defender is Kwanzaa. That's just me though. But
Hmm.
you obviously you're going to play your captain. Depending on what he would want. If he wants that cover for Van Dyke, well, I mean, Van Dyke is the cover, but if he wants that person to go in and just be aggressive, I would definitely choose Konate because a healthy Konate is next to none. But Kwanzaa is just like I said, he's had a terrific season. You can't just drop him after
Hmm.
that. Um, Left back is a little hazy. I don't know who I. You know what? I'm gonna be different. I feel like this is gonna be a Chimikas here. I don't know why. Something in my heart just tells me this is
Over
gonna be a
Rabo?
Chimikas. Yeah, something just tells me that this is gonna be a Chimikas year because I don't know what about Chimikas' game that just screams Hartman, but it's just he just seems so similar. And I wouldn't
Hmm.
be mad at it, especially with Robbo getting all the injuries and all that stuff. But if Robbo starts, Robbo starts. I'm not gonna bellyache about it. Trent, of course. Here's where it gets tricky. I think the midfield three is going to be Zabazalai, McAllister, and Jones. I think Zabazalai is going to play the 10. McAllister or Curtis Jones will switch between the 6 and the 8.
Okay.
That's dangerous though because defensively, no, but offensively, yes.
Hmm.
Because Curtis Jones is not really one to go to ground. He gets a lot of tackles, but he's not really one to go to ground. Not that I'm saying that that's important because we've seen many times, like you can even use Barcelona as an example. How many times do we really see like a prime Sergio Busquets go to ground? He goes to ground, but it's not like he's sliding all over the place like Casemiro. But I don't know. For me personally, I don't really feel like you need to be sliding everywhere to make your like to be a six. You don't really need to be sliding everywhere. Like you can get away with being a six and not knowing how to defend nowadays. Well, let me not say not knowing how to defend, but just being
It not being your primary attribute
yes,
or aspect. Like
yeah,
Jorginho
of course,
play
yeah,
is the six for Arsenal, and
yeah.
he's not like his primary attribute isn't like tackling.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
Hmm.
And I mean, we even saw it at Feyenoord. I don't know why I'm blanking out. I mean, none of those players are like, yeah, they go to ground, but like when you look at like Quentin Timber's strengths and White Weaver's strengths, the first thing you're not thinking is, oh my gosh, he's an amazing defender. Like they
Yeah.
can do it, but like the first things that would
Hmm.
stand out when you look at the data and all that stuff between those clubs is like, oh my gosh, their progressive passes forward or the way that they get involved in their chances created is amazing. And I see that a lot in those two midfielders. So, and McAllister and Curtis Jones are fully capable of defending. So
Yep.
that's my whim. So Bosley, we spent 76 million on him. You got to play him.
Hmm.
You just got to play him. Salah,
Yep.
of course. Left wing is where it gets tricky because it could literally be Gakpo, Luis Diaz, but honestly,
I bet it's
oh
Gakpo. After that Euro, and it seems like he was one of the players that like Slot was pretty like excited to work with because didn't like I watched Slot's whole like introductory interview, all like 35 minutes of it. Weren't the two players that he called first? Wasn't it Van Dyke um
yeah.
and Gakpo? Weren't
Yeah,
those the two? So I bet he starts.
thing is, Luis Diaz has also had a very good Copa America. Like Luis Diaz is in form,
Yeah,
Cody Gakpo is in
it's true.
form.
Yeah.
But to be honest,
Hmm.
the name that I've heard come out of Slot's name the most is Cody Gakpo. Like, he's just been like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've called Luis Diaz, but the name that has come out of his mouth in terms of like between Diaz and Gakpo is definitely Gakpo. So I see Gakpo starting on that left wing. Nunez or Jota, depending on if Nunez gets suspended for defending his family. I laugh just because it's an unfortunate
Yeah.
problem. It's
And
just
we can touch on those situations because obviously Chelsea. Yeah, we
yep.
can. We can. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't blame the guy. Like I've said this to you before. I would do the exact same thing for my family and my loved ones. Um, at that
South
point,
Americans are just a different.
they are a different
Like
breed.
the whole Copa America, man.
Yeah,
Their passion for football and just like I don't know. I don't want to say anything like too crazy, but it's just like so much of that. And I'm talking like fans primarily. Obviously, Copa America is always fun to because players are really out there with each other.
yeah,
Um, there's just like unprecedented aggression at the Copa America, which always fun to watch. Um, but even the fans, like what in the final, it's really disappointing. Like what fans of both sides did to the stadium and just tore it apart, and like all the fans climbing the gates in the stadium, getting tickets, and the game being delayed like an hour. It's just they love football, and maybe they need to step back and consider that maybe this is we can love football, but maybe it doesn't need to be quite this passionate. But
I
anyways,
don't know. It could be
sorry.
scary
You
to
continue.
some of those who don't understand. I'll be real
Yeah.
because I think I had even a tiny bit of conversation about this with you as well. If this was in South America, this is not being blown out of proportion like this.
Yeah, that's true. It's
This is
just
just a
like
normal day for them. This is a normal
this
day
is
in Sao
a
Paulo.
day a game on Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
normal day in Sao Paulo for them, but for America, especially with us trying to test out here in America, in North America, I should say, trying to test out whether we're capable of hosting the World Cup and all, where we see stuff like that, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, I mean, if
It's
we
just
can't,
it's different cultures.
yep,
It's different cultures, and yeah. It's just that stuff is disappointing. Like
yeah,
fans like targeting families and players needing to go up and defend their own families. Like that stuff just shouldn't be seen anywhere in
yeah,
football. But I think we can agree on that. But
yeah.
yeah.
But that's who I feel is gonna start for now. Because again, like
Hmm.
I'm doing it based on names he's talked about. I haven't really heard him talk about Shota, if I'm gonna be honest. It's more been Nunez, him saying I like his game. I have plans on using him. I have to have the conversation with him. I've talked to him. He's gonna be here for the long haul. But yeah, in terms of important players, like if Luis Diaz is on the bench, yeah, Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, of course. Um,
Jog.
Diogo Jota, Diogo Jota. Um, who's another
Which center
sleeper?
back did you leave out? Did you
I
leave out
left
Konate?
out.
Did you start Kwanzaa?
I left out Kwanzaa.
Okay. I was trying to remember. So Kwanzaa for
Kwanzaa for
definitely will
sure.
be.
Um, I don't know. After what I've seen today, Sep as well, man. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Off the clips I've just seen, Sep is. I say this like I'm not the one who said that I wanted to keep him. I wanted to keep him all along. I've been slowly, like as weird as it is to say, I've been slowly watching Sep for a while. Like his first season at Preston, he didn't play that much games, and I was furious when they were using him as a right wing back. I was like, why are they using a Van Dyke type player, 6'5" at right wing back? And
Hmm.
then second season he started going off at right back slash right wing back, and I was like, oh okay, this is kind of nice. And then they were like, oh we're gonna buy him, and I was like, no. And then Liverpool gave him a chance, and they're like, oh through my Schalke. I was like, awesome. I watched literally his first game, gets a massive injury, and I'm like, we're not gonna keep him. Then he gets on loan to Mines, and I keep up every now and then. I'm like, all right, oh, okay. And he's
I
like
just
one
saw
of the
his
top
stats. Like it
performers.
looked like a good
Oh yeah,
season, like a really good season.
he
Yeah,
had an
and
amazing
mine's is a
season.
pretty high profile loan.
Oh yeah.
Like enough. Yeah.
So
So
seeing that Sep came in, and I'm like, he's playing at left center back. I'm like, this is the part of the times where I'm like, I can accept if we don't get a big name because I'm like, we have a player right here who's worth 20 million who can play left center back. Okay, bring him in. I would love a
yep.
left-footed center back so much, but like if he can play left, come through. Come through.
Hmm.
Joe Gomez is somebody I forgot I just realized. I've not talked anything about Joe Gomez. I don't know where he fits in. I'll be real. To be honest, I
Hmm.
think he might go back the center back. I want to say that, but I don't because of Sep. So I don't know where Joe Gomez, but that's the beauty of Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez can play across the entire back line, but I don't know. I
Yep.
couldn't really see Joe Gomez inverting in the way that like I just saw Chimikas invert and all that stuff. I see him
Hmm.
more as like a deep crosser. I don't really see him running towards touch line and crossing in there, or even crossing from
Hmm.
midfield. I just see him more as a kind of like what we see from Kyle Walker nowadays, not like old Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker now, he knows his job. Just win the ball as like a traditional fullback, dish it off to a more creative guy, support every now and then, but you're not going to be running towards touchline and whipping in crosses like we used to see Trent do or we see Chimikas
Hmm.
do or Robertson. Um, Sleeper youth players that I could see being used. Ben Doak definitely for one. I mean, the guy got called up to Scotland's team for the Euros and then picked up an injury, which was unfortunate. But otherwise, we would have seen him at the Euros at the age of 18. So that's already a big sign. If his country is already rating him that highly, I mean, of course we're gonna rate him as highly as well. Um, Harvey Blair, like I said, it's been rumored across the camp that Arne Slot likes his game a lot. It's just a matter of him staying healthy. Uh, do I really count Harvey Elliott as a youngster nowadays? I mean, technically he is a youngster, but he's already certified himself as a first team player. Like, there's no chance that he gets youngster treatment anymore. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just exciting times for the bro. I don't even know like where to wrap my head around after like just seeing that play, just seeing the plays I've just seen on Twitter. It's made me so happy. It made me realize that like this club knows what they're doing. Like every now and then, of course, you get jealous because clubs are making transfers and you kind of seem stagnant. But you look at that and you're like, okay, these guys know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. I have full faith in them. But yeah, it's it's intriguing. It's intriguing stuff
Yeah.
going on this season.
Yeah. I think it's maybe a little more clear for Chelsea. Um, Goalkeeper Robert Sanchez, because now we hear that he's the trusted number one, unless we sign somebody else who's a little more high profile.
I think you
That
are.
Maresca would
Fabrizio
prefer.
literally, I got the alert not even like 20 minutes
Really?
ago. He said that Chelsea are considering to bring in a new goalkeeper to compete with Robert Sanchez, who's starting as
Any
first
names?
goalkeeper this season. Um, Despite early links with Marmadashvili, Chelsea are keen
Yeah.
to strength in the light in Chelsea are keen on a goalkeeper whose strength lies in his distribution. And for those who know,
Yeah.
we've had this conversation off camera a lot. Connor does not believe Sanchez distribution is up to par.
And
Um,
definitely Petrovic, I think, is even worse in his distribution than Sanchez. Like Sanchez, I think can spray long, but in terms of like short distribution, comfortable on the ball, like almost looking like an outfield player, it's neither of them. But interesting. So that is exactly what I was saying earlier. Like I would imagine if we bring in a goalkeeper, it'll be someone who's really with his distribution, and I'm guessing he'd be competing with Robert Sanchez, but probably would take his spot.
Imagine you get
I
like
would
Costa
imagine
from Portugal. That would be.
that he would start instantly for sure. Um, Mamardashvili would be interesting, but also his distribution is kind of garbage as well. He's not that type of player. Um, but he's a high profile goalkeeper. Like he would be an elite shot, and like he deserves a big move. Absolutely. But that's really interesting. Anyways, Robert Sanchez will start. So I'll say week one expectations because maybe things will change. Of course, things will change throughout the season. Robert Sanchez in goal. Reece James, I guess, won't be starting week one because he was in idiot decided to kick Yao Pedro when he was running past him. So that's exactly what you want from your captain. Decision making like that, and to be suspended for 3 games and straight reds. That's what you want from your club captain. So I think Malo Gusto will start because he might be the best under 21 right back. And he'll have a big role for Enzo Maresca, I'm sure. Whatever that is. I could actually see him inverting into the midfield, an aggressive player, because he did kind of invert sometimes last season. Like I think he looked kind of comfortable operating in the middle of the pitch, but of course he is more of like an overriding up and down type of fullback who gets up and down fast. He's super quick, has a big gas tank, can run a lot. So that could also suit being in midfield. But Gusto will start week one because Reece can't. But Reece obviously will be the first right back unless Gusto just continues to improve, and you never know what kind of situation you'll have. Um, right center back, I wouldn't imagine it'd be this soon. I think it'll probably be Tosin because he has clearly taken in a big leadership role. I think, will adapt well. I think he has connections to Maresca. They might have opened at City a little bit because obviously Tosin was in City's academy before going to Fulham, and he was at City before going to Fulham. So I think Tosin will start week 1. He kind of seems like he's ready to step into that. And what Trev could start, but yeah, I don't expect Wes. And Dazasi, I'm just not really sure about him. I don't really think he's a player, but I'm sure he will. He will play a bit this season. Left center back, it'll probably be Levi Colwell. But Badger Shield, I think will look a lot more comfortable and will be a lot better under Enzo Maresca than he was last season, because obviously Badger Shield struggled a lot last season, despite when he came into Premier League, like his first 8 or so games in the Premier League under Graham Potter, he looked like immense. And maybe that was just because Potter preferred maybe a little structure and control, and um, Pochettino just kind of wanted high intensity football, and that doesn't suit Badger Shield very well. But Badger Shield has always been like pretty composed on the ball. He has been prone to errors, but I think he would do well. But it will be Levi Cole, and he's actually switching to number 6, which I like. I think that'll suit him well, taking Thiago Silva's old number. I think Kukurea will start week 1 because he is he's a great player, and he'll grow. The 6, I would say Enzo Fernandez, but I think there will be some sort of action against him, and that's just an incredibly disappointing situation, and just how people have come after Wesley Fofana for completely understandably being upset about that. Like, it's just really disappointing. Like, honestly, we've talked about it, like, it doesn't even make me mad that West would post that. Like, if your teammate is blatantly disrespecting you and being blatantly racist towards you, and like, you shouldn't stand up for that. Like, you shouldn't allow that to happen. And so obviously, like, there might have been other ways to handle it. It's something that needs to be addressed. It's something that needs to be handled. I'm disappointed. And blaming it on like euphoria and all that, and then like Enzo's dad saying like it's just a cultural thing, like you don't understand how it's like, is Argentina's culture just to literally be blatantly racist? Is
Even
that
the
what you're
vice
trying are you
president of Argentina came
like
on and said the same thing. I was just like,
are you justifying racism with the cultural differences is my question, which is just insane. So it's just, yeah, it's disappointing. I'm really upset about that. And I think Enzo, of course, he'll be a big player from Maresca, and he'll learn from this, and I'm sure it'll all be okay. But it just kind of is disappointing to add that to what's been a really bright start to the preseason and a lot of positive vibes, it seems, in the Chelsea squad. And then and Enzo decides to live stream him singing a racist chant towards, like, literally you could almost make a starting French players from Chelsea with African heritage. Like, who? So it's just like he had no, what's the word, like, awareness. Like, why are you doing that? And so we can move on from that. I would say Enzo, but I don't expect him to start week 1 because I think there will be some form of disciplinary action taken. And so that leaves it open. Like we've discussed, I think Caicedo will actually play more box role because you don't spend 115 million pounds on a midfielder just to sit deep. Like, Enzo, I think, can do that because he's a little bit more quarterback than Caicedo. Like, his passing range and the passes he's able to make are a little bit more like he can fit like a kind of like Toni Kroos type of role for Chelsea, like sitting super deep and like making those passes. Enzo can, but I think Caicedo would do much better flying up and down the pitch. And we saw he scored a couple like incredible goals last season, and 2 of them were disallowed. But then obviously we saw in the final week he scored just like the 50-yard banger, and he had some great passes last season. I think he disallowed assists as well, where I think he could really excel high pitch and not just sitting deep. And he's able to run up and down like we saw with Declan Rice. Arsenal spent a guy who played the 6 mainly for West Ham, but the season that he left, he started to transition to more of an attacking role. We've seen Arsenal make Declan Rice more of a box-to-box type of player and gets more in the attack. So I expect the same thing from Caicedo. And so that leaves the 6 open still. And because Maresca has Romeo Lavia in the Manchester City Academy, and with Romeo healthy, I think Romeo Lavia will start in the 6 day 1, because that literally is a new signing for us, if that. And he literally, you guys wanted him. Arsenal, we spent 50 million pounds on him. He will be a big player for us. Like, he will be a ginormous talent for us. And so we can't just forget about him, because he will, like, he could honestly fit that deep line playmaker better than any other midfielder we have. Um, but I think left-sided midfielder, because of his experience in Enzo Maresca's, I think Dewsbury Hall will start immediately. And I think he'll surprise a lot of people because he is very forward-thinking. He likes to score goals. He likes to assist. And I'd like to see him build a relationship with starts wing like he did with Mavididi at Leicester. They often would like overlap. Like Dewsbury Hall would run on the outside and Mavididi would run inside, and so crossing the ball. And Caicedo can do the same thing. He played right back for Brighton, so that's why I think that right center mid suits Caicedo really well. But I think Dewsbury Hall will start LCM because he's left-footed. Maresca seems to prefer um, for the crossing side of things, and for cutbacks, it's easy to obviously pass with your strong foot for a cutback. Left wing week 1 is interesting because Mudryk, I think, will suit Maresca well because he likes to take players on 1v1. He has an incredible shot. Like, that man can finish, and he has some crazy shot power. So I'm excited to see him in a little bit more structured system, but I also think there will be a transition period briefly for him. And this season he needs to perform definitely, and I think Conference League will be big for him. Start weekend every week in the Conference League. I'm sure, of course, he'll start a lot in the Premier League as well, but Conference League will be a good opportunity to show us what destroy teams from like Norway and stuff. So hopefully we see him do well, because obviously that was where the hype grew when he starred for Shakhtar in the Champions League, and he looked really good, like against Real Madrid and everything. And um, but I don't think he'll start week. I think it'll be Raheem Sterling on the left wing, just because he's a veteran. He knows their system, um, and I still believe that Sterling can contribute at a high level. We'll just need to see that, of course, and I think he'll suit this. Right wing, I think it'll be Cole Palmer, who obviously is our star boy, scored in the Euro final. Incredible player. He has a very bright future, and I think we're about to give him a renewed contract, which he very much deserves, because obviously Chelsea have a structure where players aren't getting paid as much anymore, um, other than the players that came in that first summer, like Sterling, who's still on K a week, which is insane. And I think striker, because I haven't seen any of Jackson in preseason. Actually, he got injured. As I remember, he got injured. I think striker will actually, week 1, even though I think he might play left wing more, will be Christo. I think it'll be Nkunku at striker. Week 1, maybe as like a false 9, which we've seen Maresca utilize in the past. But I think week 1 we'll see Nkunku, but Jackson probably in that role more so, and Nkunku more, but also Nkunku can play in the midfield in one of those roles. So that's starting 11. But I think Madueke and like they've already kind of formed a relationship and a bond, and Madueke also suits that role really well because he likes to be aggressive, take players on, cut inside on his strong foot. So he'll definitely play a lot this season. Mudryk for sure. Jackson will start most of the time, I'm sure, unless we sign another striker, which I think we just need to sign competition for Jackson, not like a replacement, because he scored 14 goals in his first season, despite, of course, being frustrating at times. But like 14 goals in the Prem for your first season, that's a better return than Didier Drogba had in his first 2 seasons at Chelsea. So it's not that bad for your debut season in a new league. Center backs, we'll see a pretty heavy center back rotation, I would imagine. Like Wes will, of course, once he's healthy and we feel confident in his fitness, he'll for sure starting week in, week out, because we spent 80 million. And then Badiashile, I'm sure he'll play a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if left center playing, like tucking in to center back with Badiashile there too. And I'm trying to Gallagher. I mean, I hope he stays, but I don't think he'll start in this system. So that leaves midfield interest big role season. Probably as like that left-sided center mid, even though he's right foot. But that left half space will suit him well. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens with the other position. Andre Santos, I think will stay, and I'm at Chelsea, and I think he'll suit this system well too, especially as like a box-to-box midfielder. But yeah, I think that's kind of what I think. Is there anything else really to discuss? I feel like we've gone on a long time.
Mm, For the majority, I feel like we've covered mostly of what's gone on at our clubs recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the sense of now, I see that next time, by the time you guys see us, we will have preseason news. We will have actual news. I will probably be telling you that we have lost 2-0 to Real Betis, or who knows. I might
Yeah.
even be saying that we bought a winger from India, Mumbai City. Who knows? Anything can happen. Anything can
Sarpreet
happen.
Singh to Liverpool FC. Here we go.
Sarpreet Singh. I wonder where he is now. I'd take him. Rated him highly. He
I
was at
guess he's
Bayern.
yeah, I remember we signed him in our career mode in like FIFA 18 when he was still in Australia. So we saw the success. We knew it was coming. But I guess he's from New Zealand. Anyways, n-
Good.
nonetheless.
We've ranted long enough on the Blue and Red YouTube channel. We will start adding more things to this channel. Start adding shorts, reels. Might even see a
Ooh.
social media come up
Ooh.
soon.
Ooh.
Perhaps. But until next time, Blue and Red signing out.